What's going on, guys? Real quick deal here today on this one. If you saw the video last week, I sprayed this with Momentum FX2 and a agriculture fertilizer that I use a little bit. It's a liquid. It's a 1088, so it just a couple of pints per acre on that. You're not putting down a ton of nitrogen, but it's also got micronutrients and stuff in it. So I'm pretty much just getting that in there to kind of boost up my efficacy on my three-way and to give me a little nutritive something that will keep me from knocking the color out of my grass spraying that three-way herbicide. But it's been cool this week. I sprayed it on 1 week ago today actually, and like Monday through probably Thursday that week it stayed colder than average here, which at nighttime it was getting down in the 20s. In the daytime it didn't get much up, it got into the 30s. So it's cool today too, but we had a couple of slightly warmer days leading up to today, and today looks like it's gonna be a pretty day too. But anyway, enough on the weather report. I'm gonna show you and see if we got if we're taking care of any weeds in this. Mainly what I was seeing in this was chickweed. So let's check some chickweed out and see if we got any of it. Started on what I was able to get with the Momentum FX2. I'll show you a couple things out here that I got that it won't touch. This is pretty prevalent in a lot of fescue yards right now, and what's weird is you will pretty much only see this in fescue yards. So that tells me it's not native to here either. So it's probably in the seed, and I'm using the best seed I can, but over years this has been overseeded. This house is probably close to 100 years old, so I don't know if it's always been fescue out here or not, but it had Poa trivialis before I got here, and it still got it. Anyway, that's Poa trivialis, a tough nut to kill right there. Pretty much the most effective treatment that I've done on this, where I've had major problems with it, is you get a sod cutter and you cut the big sections out and you put new fresh sod in it. The yards that I've renovated recently, killed down the bare dirt and redone with my either the Mountain View seed or the Triple Threat Plus from Pure Seed, I don't really have a problem with Poa trivialis, but in my opinion, I only see this in fescue that's been overseeded, and I only see it in the older fescue yards. So I feel like it's in some seed. It's my opinion. I have no knowledge of this, but Jay Wyrick tells me he went to a class and there might be something from New Farm coming out. It's a growth regulator, but it might have some unintended effects to Poa trivialis. This is a hard one. The thing about this is it's a major pain to get rid of, and you only really see it, or in my experience, I only really see it like January, February, March, and then when the fescue starts kicking in really strong in the springtime, you don't see it, and when it warms up in the summer, it dies back. But it's a perennial, so it'll return. But that's a bad weed in your fescue right there. But it's short-lived as well, so you can either deal with it during that little time frame you'll see it, or right now the treatment that I know works and would recommend is dig it out and replace with sod. Trivialis. Another Poa annua. Poa annua in fescue, You can spray it with ethyl fumicate. Poa constrictor is what they call that. But and a pre-emergent should help you knock this down too. Help keep it happening before you get it. This yard was sprayed with 3 rounds of tenacity, and I still have some Poa annual breakout, mainly right along the edges of the where the driveway meets the turf, which is very typical for breakout. Any kind of pre-emergent you have, you'll have breakout with this. But see, I don't know that the tenacity is lasting long enough to get with this right now anyway. Ethyl fumicate will get that. 3-way won't touch it. All right, let's see what we did get. Stay tuned. Here we go with 1 week and pretty much unseasonably cool weather here. The Momentum FX2, it's smoking this stuff. Looks really effective. But that's been you've been dealt with, son. You can see the grass out here mixing that fertilizer with the micros in it. Really helped me retain my color after spraying it. Some more. It's tearing it up. You can tell it's on the run. Let's see if I can find something else. There you go. He's had some waste laid to him. I've been looking at pictures of curling up weeds, but it's pretty exciting to me. That was a really effective application. I'm proud of that one. That one did good. There's some hen bit. It's curling all up and laying down. Good deal. Looks like we got it. All right, there's just some exciting dead weed images. The turf is looking really good out here right now. We're gonna keep pounding on it to build it up to get it through the summer, and keep using the Carbon Earth products on it, and see how the peptides do with it. But so far so good out here. Weed control program for a property like this for me would look probably something like this. I would come late January-ish and hit it with the Momentum FX2 or something similar to that, like I just did, Escalade, something with triclopyr, fluroxapyr, those kind of deals. Probably here pretty soon, in February sometime, we'll go ahead and get, sometimes on the fescue, I'll go ahead and throw the whole pound of prodiamine on it and just roll with that in one application, or I might split it and hit it. Most of my warm season turfs I split and do half rate about February and come back in a couple of months with another half rate, which means a half pound each time per acre. So prodiamine will be coming soon on this for a pre-emergent. If in the late spring I'm still looking at a lot of weeds, I'll do my second 3-way application. If the temperatures are not super hot, I might use something like the Momentum again. If it's up in the 80s or so, I would go with the amine 3-way, the Trimec 992 triplet, something like that. All right, so that would pretty much put you out on your 3-ways. So then you would probably not need another weed application unless you had some sedges or something. Then you could treat with some halosulfuron or something to knock your sedges out. Hold on, I got a message. It was a YouTube comment actually. If you see sedges present, you knock it out with a little halosulfuron. Then going into the fall, you would want to start your tenacity applications, and I'd usually what I'll do is I'll get a 3 or 4 ounce shot on it a few weeks before seeding. Then I'll put a 2 or 3 ounce application on it at seeding, and then follow up a few weeks after seeding with a small, like a 2 ounce application of geez, what was I talking about? Mesotrione. Tenacity, yes. All right. Well, that's a little brief what the weed control would look like for a year on an average fescue lawn. You know, you might have some things pop up that you would need a specialty product to control, like I said, the sedges, or if you were so inclined, if the POA was a big problem, you could go ahead and put your ethyl fumicate on that. POA is very short-lived. You'll have, I mean, in the wintertime, like right now, it almost mixes in with the turf and you don't notice it. When you start to see it is in the spring, it gets white flower on it and gets really sticks out. I don't have any of it out in the turf, but right along the edges I'm seeing it, so I might just let that ride. Anyway, little brief weed killing overview. All right, in short, 2 3-way applications, a pre-emergent application, and a few rounds of tenacity in the fall, and that's about it for weed control on something like this. If you got specific weeds that you'll need a specialty product popping up, you know, you hit it with that, like a sedge product, like a sedge hammer, or if you wanted to use the POA constrictor for your POA annual. If you have the need for a third 3-way application, you would have to use something that's like a 2,4-D alternative. I keep Change Up on the truck. That's a good one from New Farm that I'll use some, or you could use you know, triclopyr or something like that. But you just want to be really careful with triclopyr in that range, that temperature range that you're going to have when you're probably going to want to hit with a third weed control for the year. But if you're lucky, you won't need it. That's about it for that. I think I'll bring back a little segment that I did one time before. I wrote down a few questions from the last video that I put up last night. I'll answer some of them live right here. Stay tuned. Hold on to your sides. Get your pens and pads out. This is gonna be great. Now I'm sitting here on my mower. I left my tripod on the perma-green at home. I didn't bring it with me. I wrote down a couple of these because, you know, they're on my phone and I video with my phone. So it's high tech here, I'm telling you. What we got? Kenny Cooper. What's up, Kenny? Kenny says it would be nice if Perma-Green made a homeowner sprayer. Well, they don't make a homeowner specific sprayer, but they do make a small sprayer called the Recharge that fits inside of your Let's Go spreader. I wouldn't mind having one of those. I got a few places that I could use that. So go to the Perma-Green website and check out the Recharge. It's just a small tank that covers like half of your Let's Go spreader insert, and so it inserts in there, and you can still put fertilizer in it, so you can spray and spread at the same time. It would be great for smaller yards or areas that you couldn't get the Perma-Green on. So check out the Perma-Green Recharge, Kenny, and anybody else that's interested. I might check one out for myself. Blake Johnson says, overseeded with ryegrass, will it die out on its own, or do I have to spray it out? It depends, Blake. If it's annual ryegrass and if it gets in some pretty full sun and it's going to take the brunt of those higher springtime temperatures, more than likely it will die out on its own. If it's perennial ryegrass, you are going to have to spray that stuff out. And I generally will get tired of mowing annual ryegrass when it starts getting spindly and ready to transition out, and I spray it out anyway. My go-to generally in Bermuda for spraying out ryegrass is Monument. You can use Monument, you can use Katana, Celsius, methylfuron methyl will work. MSM is, I don't recommend it for, you know, beginners or faint of heart or whatever, and read your label directions on all of it before you use it, obviously. Disclaimer there. Or get a professional to spray it out for you. But Monument is what I generally use. Back to Nature Palms. Says he can't make it to Loncology this year because it's in Georgia, and I think he's in Florida, so he would have been right there at the old location. But he says his goal for 2020 is a new Perma-Green. That's a sweet goal. Back to Nature Palms. All right, we'll do one more. The Grass Thief Says he has RTF, I guess that's Rhizomatous tall fescue, and he ain't so in love with it. He's thinking about putting down perennial ryegrass. Should he put them down together or kill off the RTF? In my opinion, ryegrass and fescue do not mix, especially in my part of the world. They don't have very similar appearances, for one, and the growth habits are different, mowing requirements are different, and in the summertime here, when that ryegrass starts to stress, it will jack your fescue up. Not a good idea. But if you live somewhere up north or wherever, where the temperatures are milder, it might be an option to mix them. But if it were me, I would spray that. If you live somewhere, if you've got irrigation adequate enough to keep that ryegrass alive in the summer, and you live in an environment where ryegrass, perennial ryegrass will live in the summer, go ahead and hit it with that. Take that fescue out. Start over with your ryegrass and keep it like a ryegrass yard. It'll have a little different requirements than your fescue will. You can mow it tight, low. So that I would take it out and put the ryegrass in if you live where the ryegrass will live through the summer. It will not live through the summer here. Fescue don't even live through the summer here without a lot of love. But anyway, there's just a few of the segment we call answering questions from the viewers. Thanks for watching. We'll check you guys out next week. We're gonna be heading down to Longology. I hope I have time to get plenty of videos up about the event and demoing the machine and all. So and all the folks we're gonna meet. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, we were talking earlier. I glazed over the mention of the growth regulator that might stop or control Poa trivialis and Poa annua from New Farm. We are going to be with Canada Rod next week, so I can promise you the beer will be flowing and we will be pressuring Canada Rod to tell us all about the details on that. And when I find out, definitely going to do it here and see how that works out. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next week.